What's going on, guys? Welcome to another session with Phrankleen. If you're watching me for the first time, thank you for doing so. If you're a repeat viewer, thank you for stopping by. Don't forget to like my videos, smash the subscribe button if you've not already done so, and smash the bell button, select the all option so you're notified when I've uploaded a content like this or when I'm live streaming, all right? And for those that celebrate, Christmas and all that, season's greetings, okay? Now, one of my viewers sent me this link and I looked into this and I thought, let me, talk about this. And it's basically the UK dangling the carrot of a £28,000 per annum salary to start excavating teachers from Nigeria and other parts of the world, starting from February of 2023. Now, I have actually seen a few videos online, and that's the problem, one of the problems within the Black community, because everything that the West presents to Africans, a lot of our people lack critical thinking, they lack logical reasoning, and they see it as a blessing in their hands. They see it as, oh, the West is looking out for them, okay? They appoint themselves as gatekeepers of the West, as I've been talking about before now, and they don't carry out logical reasoning. A lot of these people, no disrespect, they're religious people with really damaged, and colonized minds, and they run to social media. They put this information out there. They are ecstatic. They are sharing this like this is definitely not some kind of a disguised blessing. Now let's look into this, right? For the purposes of this video, right, they open this offer, particularly to Nigerians, Ghana, Hong Kong, India, Jamaica, Singapore, South Africa, Ukraine, and Zimbabwe, okay? It's a major excavation of the best brains within the teaching sector, okay, for the betterment of the United Kingdom. They said, I think they said from a minimum of £28,000 per year to about 34,000 or something like that. And there's a certain qualification that a teacher must have. It's called QTS, I believe. Forgotten the full meaning of that QTS now. You need to have that, but they're basically saying, if you go and check on .gov.uk, saying they would freeze that, basically if you're a teacher who's trained overseas, like in Nigeria, for example, that wouldn't be relevant for the next 4 years, and then after 4 years, you would need to take the QTS exam and have that qualification. So according to them, so you can be able to further your teaching career. But for someone like me, I like to think outside the box, especially when the West is dangling this type of carrot. Why now? Why are they dangling this carrot? So I've got a few bullet points in my notepad here. Let's go. So the number one bullet point is, of course, this is another Western brain drain. One of the multiple ones that have been done in the past. So they come up with these things, these packages. It's an illusion of inclusion. They throw it open. They know that 99.9% of the time, people are going to latch onto it without asking questions. They will see it as a blessing. They will latch onto it. And once upon a time, it was doctors. They're still doing that. Nurses. Very recently, it was a bunch of carers. Why? Because of the collapse of that industry here in the UK. Lots of the Eastern Europeans and all these people that dominated the care agencies and the industries in the past, a lot of them left because of Brexit and for other reasons. So they decided to dangle the carrot before Africans. And I've talked about this previously. This is not an attack on anyone just because you want to travel or migrate. But one of the things that makes my heart bleed for Africa and Africans is once the West dangles anything, our people don't indulge in critical thinking. They don't indulge in logical reason. They don't take a step back to think, what are the impacts of this on my life, my family, how old am I, where am I? I've done well for myself. I'm doing well for myself in Africa. People are ready to sell their homes. I've heard so many horror stories. People selling their properties, selling their bungalows, the duplexes, getting rid of their cars, lands, major assets. And then, they have to come here. And some of the things that they set for our people, several months of rent, you must have it and all that. There are many cases that are being suppressed because you don't see them or hear them in mainstream media. Doesn't mean they're not happening. A lot of homelessness, people running out of cash, people being stuck in Airbnb, not being able to maintain and fund themselves because they run out of cash. And then, unfortunately, we're now dealing seriously with very high living expenses, gas and electric and things like that. So this is another brain drain, right? Because if you look at Nigeria, for example, which is where I'm connected to, they constantly excavating the best of our doctors. And people might argue, oh, Phrankleen, because the doctors are not getting paid, but I look at the bigger picture. I may not go to war with you in terms of that argument, but the truth is, all of this brain drain ensures that Africa remain on its knees. The best brains are sucked into the Western system, nurses, doctors, lawyers, whatnot. Recently, people from multifaceted several industries, through the care industry, the care visas and all that, there's a major influx. The influx was so much with their dependents that even the UK government themselves had to say they want to put a stop to that because the influx is too excessive, right? So that's one, brain drain. Number two, let's look at the destabilization of major African countries like Nigeria. Whether you like it or not, right, these things are carefully orchestrated to cater to the demands and the needs of the Western countries like the UK and stuff, okay? And it ensures the ongoing destabilization of nations like Nigeria, Ghana, and Jamaica, South Africa, Zimbabwe, because when they keep excavating your best brains, they keep pulling them out, they're pulling them into their system to get them trapped into the Western rat race to ensure that their own GDP carries on growing every year and they keep on improving their own system, their aging population, their own citizens are squeezing the best out of Africans whilst leaving the continent on its knees. Bullet point number 3, I call it Western misrepresentation about African educational system. Western misrepresentation about African educational system. What do I mean by that? So over time, some of you might already know this. The same UK, say for example, I studied in University of Lagos and stuff like that, and I came here with my qualifications. They would diminish that in 3, 2, 1. They would trivialize it. They rubbish most of our, university. Even if I went to University of Ife, one of the finest universities in Nigeria, if I went to University of Ibadan, University of Lagos, they would trivialize your qualifications. They would say, oh, those qualifications are not transferable or can't be used in their society. They will ensure that you then start from the bottom and try to do some kind of get into some kind of other type of qualifications that they would then say, okay, we can then absorb you into the system because you've done this sort of qualification. And then you pretty much have to start from the bottom now to start building all the way to the top. Now, this has happened on several occasions. They show blatant disregard for African universities and, qualifications and stuff. So I was just thinking in my head, right? If the Nigerian qualifications are not good enough, and now you are dangling a carrot of invitation by way of a visa to Nigerian teachers to come into the UK system. So it's my reasonable submission that these teachers went to those universities that you have a blatant disregard for. So how come now those teachers are good enough to come to the UK, to come and teach the British children in the British schools? How does that make sense? Do you understand? A teacher might have gone, take for example, to University of Ibadan, right? And they're qualified, they're within the education system in Nigeria, and now they're good enough to come here to work for like 4 years without having to bother with your QTS. to come and work in your system. So this is why I talk about the Western misrepresentation. They have these media machine and everything, this propaganda that they put out as often as possible to diminish Africa, to say we're not good enough, we're never good enough, to ensure that we remain on our knees. But when they need you, when they need to excavate the best of your brains, the people with the best minds, they know how to go about it. Now, once they've had enough with these teachers and all that stuff, they close the door, they find something else again, and on and on and on like that with Africa and Africans. Now, bullet point number 4. For those who would decide to go down the route of coming here as teachers and stuff, it's worth mentioning that if you do decide to come, please bear in mind that you cannot do anything about the ill-mannered children here in the UK, especially homegrown, people who are already fully grown adults and stuff, and you're going to come here. In Nigeria, for example, teachers are like warlords in the classroom. Lecturers are, they can be tough and they can discipline you. You can get struck with canes in some schools, even in universities, they get you to kneel down and stuff. So one thing I would say for free is over here, there's a blatant disregard for your culture, where you are coming from, who you are. Oh, this is how I've learned to do this. No, it's almost like it's a dictatorial, totalitarian type of system in England. It's their way or nothing. There's no compromise. So, and also teachers are regulated here. It's not like in Nigeria, oh, I'm teaching in school A, and I'm not getting on with them. I'm just going to pull out. I have an issue with them. I'm just going to resign and maybe cross over to another state or go to another school within the city and start working as a teacher. I'll get a friend of mine to give me. No, here teachers are regulated. So, and that's where it gets really tricky. You are in a register, the things like criminal, record checks and all those things, and which means the authorities that you'll be working under, there is prejudice, there is bias in the system. If they don't like you, if they choose to ring fence you, they can destroy your career in a flash. A child can say you've done something to them, or they call you a name, they spit or throw something at you. You can't do anything to the child. If a child slaps you, in the worst case scenario, they might say they expel the child from school. The child will end up going to another school. You cannot flinch. You can't do anything. There was a video a while back that went viral of this black woman that was in a chicken and chips shop here in the UK, I think a part of London, where she got into this verbal argument, raised her voice with this young girl who the system classifies as a child. They might be as tall as you. They might be going through puberty. That's a child, right? And then they sort of got into a scuffle. The woman slapped the child and all that stuff. She ended up being prosecuted. And prosecuted means picking up criminal records, and that's it, you're done. You're absolutely ruined. And this may also be the case for people that are coming from that environment. This has nothing to do with Jesus. This has nothing to do with my Lord shall provide all of my needs according to his riches in glory. It has nothing to do with religious inclination, even spirituality, because the system you're coming in, right, they are absorbing you into their already decided and set in place system. And don't forget, it's not designed for your gratification. It's designed to control you, to keep you at bay, to do as you were told. If you try to rear your head, they will come after you. It's worth putting that out there. Now, the issue of the starting salary, it's also worth to note that when they say £28,000, you are coming into a system whereby you will be competing with or perhaps against people that are homegrown teachers, individuals that are already in the system. And I doubt very much that they will start you off with 28,000. If you're coming from Nigeria, you're coming from outside the jurisdiction of the UK. I doubt very much. I may be wrong, but I doubt very much, because usually they'll get you to work your way from square number 1 all the way to the top. Where does this leave Africa? Where does this leave the continent? Where does this leave the future of our African nations, a country like Nigeria? And it proves my point. Everyone has a right to their own opinion and views, which is there is a Western agenda in the background, okay, to keep Africa on its knees. They're excavating our best brains. They're excavating our best minds, our best teachers, our best doctors, our best lawyers, nurses, carers. Tomorrow, they can wake up tomorrow and say, oh, now there's a special visa for plumbers. There's a special visa for carpenters. There's a special visas for mechanics. There's a special visas for engineers. Actually, there's a special visas for footballers. There's a special visa for high jumpers. Name it. People will keep on rushing. And what that does is they suck the best of the best of the best brains out of the system, basically leaving the system further and further dilapidated, crushed, weakened, on its knees. That's a fact. Because if you take out thousands and thousands and thousands of teachers by dangling a carrot, knowing fully well that they will catch that carrot, let's be honest with ourselves, okay? What becomes of that society? You know, for those are neck deep in selfishness, they'll be like, I don't care as long as I cross over again to the UK and sort myself out. It's all well and good. But have you ever stopped in your tracks to think of what becomes of Africa? What becomes of the world that you leave behind when you go? The future of your children, your unborn children, your children's children who are coming out from the black race, your bloodline. You know, it's a conversation worth having. So it's a carrot that some will no doubt benefit from. But do you think this is in the best interest of Africa? I don't think so. I don't think so. What do you think? Let's carry on having a conversation below. It's an absolute pleasure. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like my video. Don't forget to smash the subscribe button. Follow me on Instagram at Phrankleen, as exactly as it's spelled on my YouTube channel. And I'll most definitely catch you in the very next one. I'm expecting your comments below. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Peace out.